Hey duelists, my name is Doc Conrad Yugioh, and welcome to an NR format deck profile. These videos are meant to be short and sweet lists that give you a screenshot of the deck, explain what the goal of the deck is, and how they're meant to be played. For our inaugural episode, I'm showing off my second place finish in the NR Championship Series, True Draco. To start, we're going to take a look back on what the ban list looked like for the format in this time. This ban list is one of the best formats we've had for the game in a while. With it comes some bans to the worst decks in the format with a game health perspective. Flower Guardian and Generator have been top decks for a while, ever since the release of Vala and the unhit of Flower Guardian Maple with Boar. And this ban list hit those decks even harder, causing one to vanish from competitive play and allowing for mill and metal foes to take the top once again. Another thing this ban list also fixed was our experiment of putting Fool to 1 at the cost of Lord of the Red. Now that Fool was banned once again, we no longer had our Megalith Tier 0 format. Notice how this ban list, not a single card changed for my deck. Well, that's because I wasn't looking to play a Metal Foes variant with True Draco and Magispector cards. I was looking to utilize the resource gain of True Draco had to offer in longer grind games to out-advantage my opponent. But two things both Mill and Metal Foes have problem with dealing is multiple back row cards that need to be responded to. Now that's enough context. Time to get into the deck itself. True Draco is an archetype all about contributing continuous spell and trap cards in order to summon monsters to the field. In the TCG, this style of play is typically centered around floodgates to lock your opponent from playing the game. And in our format, however, we only need to prevent about one thing: the battle phase. See, most extra deck monsters don't have a real way to destroy spells and traps or have omni-negates, so by simply keeping yourself alive for long enough, you can advantage your way out of any jam. It also helps that True Draco spells and traps pop spells and traps themselves when sent to the graveyard. My version of the deck centers around these two pillars of play: prevent your opponent from destroying your cards via battle, and pop every card over multiple turns. Now with that out of the way, we'll start with the True Dracos. These cards cycle, search, and draw thanks to having two of the three best True Dracos. Majesty Maiden, the True Draco caster, can be tributed using continuous spells and traps, and if she was tributed when your opponent activates an effect, can chain it to add a True Draco monster from deck to hand. Ignis Heat, the True Draco warrior, has the same effect for continuous spells. These two are your bread and butter, and the extra bit of spice is Dryeth III, the True Drake Cavalry General. He prevents your opponent from targeting True Dracos except himself, and protects them from destruction effects. His second effect is that if tribute summoned, when he leaves the field, he could special summon another True Draco from deck. By special summoning another copy of himself and reviving the first one, he can essentially create a lockdown effect, similar to Dupe Frog, preventing all True Dracos from being targeted or destroyed, and keeping those two alive with 2800 defense. Doesn't prevent battle, but still very hard to out. The True Draco spell traps have three different effects that will categorize in three different ways: immediate tribute summons, destruction when sent from field to grave, and unique effects. The spell cards can only destroy spell and traps, and can only tribute summon during your main phase. The trap cards can only destroy monsters, and can only tribute during your opponent's main phase. All of these cards have hard ones per turn on their effects. Now onto their unique effects. True Draco Heritage is a continuous spell card that lets you draw cards up to the number of True Draco/True King card types, monster, spell, and trap cards, that were sent from the field to the graveyard this turn, for a maximum of 3 draws depending on your plays. Disciples of the True Dracos lets you target 3 True Draco and True King cards in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and then draw a card. This is how you cycle back your cards, and while it isn't as powerful as Heritage, is very necessary for your main game plan. For the trap cards, another important fact is that you can activate the tribute effects and unique effect in the same chain, so keep that in mind as well. True King's Return can target a True Draco monster in the graveyard at special summon a defense, but it locks you out of special summoning for the rest of the turn. While this lock seems harsh, it does also help provide the Dryeth lock, so it evens out in my book. For the last trap, True Draco Apocalypse can target another True Draco or True King card you control, destroy it, then have the attack and defense of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. This effect also allows you to pop cards in the damage step, creating some unrespondable chains that could set it apart from the others. Keep in mind that you have to have a True Draco or True King card face up in order to destroy these cards. Very powerful effect, one of the best cards in the deck overall. Now on to the rest of the cards. For the monsters, 3 copies of Magical Broker. This card can't be destroyed by battle or card effects while you control a face-up continuous spell trap, and he lets you send a continuous spell trap to draw a card in your opponent's turn. His send effect lets you trigger a variety of cards or break floodgates you previously set up for both players. 3 copies of Cardon the Clear-Sighted. This card is meant to synergize with trap monsters, but his effect to reset continuous traps is perfect for our True Draco cards, and when he's sent to the graveyard, he protects our face-up trap cards to the end of the next turn. If I had to choose one tweak for this deck, at least previously before the ban list happened, I would have put Cardon to 2 and Synchro Zone to 3 instead. Our next card is the semi-limited Kashtira Ogre. Ogre is perfect in this deck. It gives you a continuous trap to use, stacks your opponent's deck so you're aware of what's coming next, and it's a free special summoner on an empty board. Top decking it doesn't feel great, but he's an essential card in keeping card advantage. Run as many possible copies of Ogre as you can that are legal. Real quick, alongside Ogre, we're going to talk about Kashtira Prep. Prep is the card you grab off of Ogre. It's almost entirely useless apart from the fact that it can special summon another Ogre whenever you would like from hand. It's just hard to imagine your opponent playing into the hand rip effect or banishing your Ogre, so just consider it a free trap to use for tribute material. For our last main deck monster, Vision Hero Witch Raider is the reason we're on such a high trap count. She has a similar effect to True Dracos, but only for tributing traps instead, and she's a Harpy's Feather Duster on normal. The only problem is that this effect locks you out of special summoning monsters except for heroes for the rest of the turn, but it's well worth the effort. Perfect for me at 3 copies. There are times in which you might brick on her, but I think she's well worth it for most cases. For the unique traps, we have our 2 floodgates in Red Screen and Synchro Zone. Red Screen just stops your opponent from declaring attacks, but you have to pay 1,000, and Synchro Zone prevents both players from attacking other than with synchros, and you never utilize its other effects. These 2 cards got banned last ban list, and for good reason, but they were perfect for the advantage toolbox that True Draco gave and stalled you long enough to push for game by sending them for tribute. My recommendation for replacements includes Swords of Concealing Light, Scrubbed Raid, or some form of advantage continuous trap like double hooking. Finally, the card I feel proudest of adding to True Draco and my own unique spice is Magician's Combination. This card has an effect that is entirely useless in our format, requiring either Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl. However, its second effect is where it shines brightest. By flipping this card face up at any point during a chain, if it is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, it non-targeting destroys a card on the field. Meaning that you could trigger this with Magical Broker to draw on pop, Tribute for a True Draco, or even for Witch Raider. This card gives the deck 3 non-targeting pops, included with the 6 spell trap pops from the spells and 6 monster pops from the traps. It adds exactly to what the vision of True Draco should be, in my opinion, rather than hiding behind skill drains and teak boos. Instead of flipping up floodgates to prevent your opponent from playing the game at all, it should be utilizing its effects to pop your opponent's monsters and get in for game. Finally, for the extra deck, we're running multiple cards that may or may not come up. 3s with Grand Pulse for Magical Broker, Exorcist or Asaphiel in case you have 2 card on the field, but mainly you're going to be going into the 5s and 6 Xyzes. Volcasaurus is definitely an add. Shark Fortress is also important, as well as Imperial Princess Quinquiri. These other 2 are also great to add. Dig Vorjak sometimes comes up, as well as number 5, Doom Chimera Dragon, in case you need to stack your opponent's deck constantly. But for 6s, Force Focus is fantastic. Swordbreaker, also really good. And another one is the Transcendosaurus level 6, rank 6 that we just got. Finally, we also have some links, including Codebreaker Virus Swordsman, of course, 2 copies of that. A Pit Knight early is fantastic in order to allow for negates on your opponent's cards and punishing zone placement. Keeping yourself alive for battle is also good. Genator Transverser is also just an NR format staple, but not exactly required. I don't think I've ever gone into this card. Triple Burst Dragon, important for damage step negation, as well as for piercing. And Berserker of the Tenyi, because it's another 3,000 attack monster. So that's the list. I hope you enjoyed the shorter form of deck profile and explanation for why I like this deck. If you're looking for more content similar to this, including NR format, I make that kind of content here. You can go ahead and hit the like button, hit subscribe, and all of that if you happen to enjoy this, and let me know what kind of deck profile you'd like to make for actual good decks in this format. I don't want to be just the jank guy. I like to go and expand myself further out and give you all a clearer view of what NR format should be and can be. And so further deck profiles like this seem to be great. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Doc Conrad Yugioh, and I'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody. See you.